A shin show.
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 Welcome to a shin show. It's me, Pete Shin, alongside me, beloved spouse Elsie, son Nicholas, and daughter Sarah. Hello to everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
All right, fantastic. Here we go. And, we'll start the way that we normally do, even though it's Father's Day. So
yeah. Happy Father's Day, by the way. Meant to text you that. Whoops.
I'm not going to
Hey,
say
did you
that your
get-
dad has seemed a little extra sad all day, but I'm just saying that text might have been nice.
Not true.
Did you
by
not
the way.
get your card? Was I a day too late on the card?
Yes.
When exactly are you ever on time with the card? And I'm not saying that to be critical. I just can't recall a time when your card has actually arrived on time. If you can remember such an instance, I will consider myself corrected.
Look, I'll start getting them certified mailed to you, so that way we have the receipts. Will that make you feel better?
It will. It won't hurt anything anyway.
And then she can mail the receipts to you, also not on time.
But she will expect to be reimbursed for her costs.
Yes, of course. Well, that makes sense. So in any event, yes, it's Father's Day, but nevertheless, let us begin with some personal news. And Nick, I know you've got some, well, frankly, fairly heavy personal news.
Yeah, my cat. I made jokes last week about him acting all depressed because of this new cat and him not eating and staying in one place and shit. And I thought he was just being depressed, but then it didn't let up. And I noticed the kitten would be attacking the shit out of him, and he just didn't even fight back. And I was like, there's absolutely no way he just got over the hatred already. So we took him to the vet. We get there, and the vet's like, yeah, his gums are pale. It's not good. It's going to be about $380 to run all the tests we're going to need to run. And I was like, okay. So I gave him the fucking money. And then 2.5 hours later, they're like, yeah, he has the most advanced case of feline anemia I've ever seen, affecting his bone marrow. I stopped listening to the details after she told me that the prognosis was very, very poor. And so the only thing that could be done was a series of blood transfusions, daily blood transfusions that would have been extremely rough on him and would not have been guaranteed to even work at all. So we had a tough decision to make. And I told Taylor, I even told her that we should be prepared for the eventuality. Just driving there, that shit might be really wrong. But it still didn't help saying that. Still did not prepare me at all.
Well, that
So,
sucks, man.
He's no longer with us.
So Mean Mr. Mustard has passed away, and long live Mean Mr. Mustard. We're sorry to hear that he died.
Yeah, we're going to get a portrait commissioned of him.
Oh, that'll be good. That would be
now,
super cool.
What I would like, I don't know. I don't think Taylor's going to be down with this, or I don't even know if the person is able to do this, but I would like to get him in a naval officer's uniform.
I've seen advertisements for that on Facebook. You can get it fairly cheap. So I think you absolutely should. I think he should be Admiral Mustard.
Promoted posthumously.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe with his hand in his thing,
Yeah.
like Napoleon.
Yeah.
Horatio Hornblower like.
Yeah.
Can we also get him a little plaque underneath explaining his rank and status and all of that?
Contributions.
Totally.
Yeah, his contributions to national security, of which there were many.
Totally.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that Mean Mr. Mustard passed away. I don't mean to make light of really a tragic circumstance, but that's pretty significant news. The good news, vis-a-vis a portrait of Mean Mr. Mustard, is that Taylor is a pretty accomplished artist. She could probably do it herself.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to.
Oh, yeah. Well, too sad. I understand. Too soon. Well, thank goodness Elsie has those Facebook connections.
Right. I'll hook you right up. Those ads, man, they're very personalized to me. I'm sure you would never see them any other way.
Yeah, probably so. So in any event, we really can relate. We've been through it ourselves. In fact, Lily, the wonder dog, our current dog, is a replacement for Daisy, she wasn't a wonder dog, but she was a wonderful dog, certainly.
Delightful?
Yes.
Daisy the Delightful?
Yes.
Yes. I like that. So, we also noticed she just wasn't getting up to eat. She was moping around, which was unlike her. Took her to the doctor and had one of those yeah, we could do all this surgery and try to figure out why this cyst on her spleen burst or whatever. But she's old, probably isn't going to go well anyway. So, that'd be a lot of money to extend her pain and suffering. Or you could just, let her live out the rest of her life. So that's what we did. We had like a couple of decent days. And then one morning, all of a sudden, I just knew that that was going to be the day. But that morning, your father had a colonoscopy appointment. So that was a whole other kettle of fish, had to deal with that all morning. And then came back and hoped she'd have snapped out of it, and she didn't. So we decided to drive to the animal shelter to have her put down. And she died on the way, which was very sad. And I was holding her, so of course she peed all over me, so there was that too. But we arrive at the place, which also serves as a crematorium, so how convenient was that? And I was so, in love with this dog. This was my dog, and I was so convinced that the only way she could be put on this cart that this guy brought out would be if I did it, because she was already in my arms. Well, there's this thing about dead weight that you just can't possibly account for, and that's why it's called dead weight. And I dropped this dog on her face, and her face smushed into her neck, just like in the cartoons when an animal runs into a wall. And it was so awful and so comical, but so sad and so terrifying. And then your father started crying because I was crying, and it was the first time Brad or I had ever seen him cry. So the whole situation of seeing this dog on her face and your father crying made Brad and I start laughing while we were crying. It was ridiculous. And I certainly hope to not repeat that experience.
Yeah, you missed some key elements of that story. So this colonoscopy, right? It turns out that when they give you a colonoscopy, they've got to put you under general anesthesia, okay? So I was knocked out, and Elsie had to drive me home. So I was kind of, really still under the influence of this general anesthesia. And so when I get home, and there's a bit in the middle there too, where she takes me to Waffle House, she takes my work phone to keep me from texting. Anyway, the bottom line is I get home, I pass out. And when I wake up like 3 or 4 hours later, I'm still groggy, but Elsie's like, the dog is dying, we've got to go now. So I'm driving while Elsie's in the back of the Subaru with the dying dog, and I'm still pretty messed up. And so, but I'm the one that's driving to the Humane Society under the influence of general anesthesia. So naturally, when I see all of the emotion, I'm going to burst into tears because I'm drugged.
We know that you wouldn't have such an
Yeah,
unseemly display
you're
otherwise.
heartless under any other circumstances, of course.
Right. I mean, so naturally, that's my side of the story.
Well, thank you for clarifying that
We're
you don't
real
have
worried
normal
about your
human emotions.
Worried about your masculinity there for a minute.
And yet, also, I bet that trip was still not the worst driving trip you've ever had.
Undoubtedly so.
What do you mean? What is that supposed to mean, Sarah?
Well, I was trying to make a crack on how your driving terrifies me on a pretty
Regular
consistent
basis.
Yeah.
Well, I understand why you say that, simply because I got into a car accident when you were 2 years old, and you've never forgotten it. No, by the way, it was your fault because I was feeding you McDonald's French fries in the back seat driving down Colfax Avenue. Yes, you, feeding you.
There's
Sarah.
a lot to unpack
yeah.
here
Yeah,
about the fact
yeah.
that you
Dare you
can't
want
take
to
responsibility for your actions.
First off, you drive like a psycho. All right, maybe you have
jot
chilled
that
out
down.
a little bit in your old age, but you always drove like a psycho.
What do you mean?
Explain.
Not like
Yeah.
a psycho. You were an aggressive driver.
You're an inattentive driver, Dad.
Yes, I'm more on the
Right.
inattentive than the aggressive, but it is both. The best thing that ever happened was when we got a vehicle that beeps at him when he gets out of his lane, because there were so many times I'm like, why? Why are we driving into oncoming
And then you're
traffic
validated.
Right now?
And then you'd be like, no, the fucking machine is on my side too. It's not just my word
Yeah,
against
I
yours.
don't have to say anything anymore. I don't have to say, hey, honey, look at the road instead of writing an email. Maybe.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing. I get a lot of grief for texting while driving, okay? But
because it's bad and you shouldn't do it.
And I don't. I don't text and drive.
Uh-huh.
Lies.
No, I don't. I compose email while driving. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Well, but it's worse.
I'm not saying that due to checking email, he hit a curb coming out of our neighborhood and lost a tire or anything.
I did do that, but it wasn't because I was checking email. It was because an alarm went off on my phone, and I, of course, glanced down at the alarm. This has been, by the way.
Well, you didn't glance. If you would have
You're
glanced,
proving,
then
you're proving that you were an
If you-
inattentive driver.
yeah, if you would have glanced, then we wouldn't even be talking about this. You obviously looked at it for a long time, was dicking around with it, trying to
Fumbled,
turn it
how-
off. Yeah.
Oh, well.
All good, man.
We
Nobody's perfect.
we don't know what. I was the only one in the car. How do you know?
All we know is that here's what you've told us. The
It
tire
doesn't.
did fly off the car. You were fucking with your phone. I rest my
It'll
Thankfully-
case.
take a fucking forensic scientist to figure out the rest.
No
there,
more,
Dad.
no more questions, Your Honor.
But thankfully, I was walking Lily and was able to help change the tire for him.
Yeah, that was very helpful. Had she not been there to help me change a tire, could have been a whole bad deal.
How in the fuck you ripped the tire off, or it just the lug nuts were loose? What?
No, it just went flat.
No, the tire didn't fly off,
He
but
just
Oh,
needed
okay.
the tire.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it destroyed and actually not just the tire, but the rim as well.
Wow, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, it was.
I've never done that.
It was expensive.
That's because you don't, fuck with your phone while you're driving for
I don't.
extended
I
periods
definitely
of time.
don't text and drive at all. Someone texts me while I'm driving, they're just gonna have to wait till I get where the fuck I'm going.
Man, that's so
Good
sensible.
job, Nick.
Yeah, good job, you.
But I will talk on the phone and drive.
Oh, sure you will. I mean, that's very normal.
And if it's important, they'll call.
Right, they will, and then you'll pick up the phone and talk to them.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Unless I'm
perhaps.
listening to a good song.
Right.
Right, and then fuck them. I don't care if you're dying.
Then it's
Yeah.
going straight to voicemail just for the next 3.5 minutes.
All right. Well, so that's Nick. Again, sorry about your personal news. Of course, we have a whole raft of other personal news. I got myself in trouble at work this week because I sent a one-line email that I didn't CC to other people on that I should have CC'd, and so I was duly chastised, and it depressed me because I work pretty hard, and the only time I hear from my boss is to chastise me. That's life. What's
I
that,
said,
sir?
Did you pout about it?
I'm pouting right now about it. What are you talking about? Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
There was a day of poutage, yes.
More like an evening. Well, no, there was a full
Hey,
day. Yeah, it was a full
poutage.
24-hour
Can
pout.
I like that.
Can I make a
Howdy.
recommendation?
Yes.
Why don't you get yourself some Ben and Jerry's, eat it, and then get the fuck over it? It's an email.
Sarah's
It's
harsh.
an email.
Sarah's
And
going
here's
harsh.
the other thing,
Well,
bud.
here's what
I know you put your papers in. Don't let it get to you.
Yeah. All right.
Meditate on that shit.
Yeah. All right. Far out. Okay. Wow. Some tough love from Sarah on Father's Day right
Sarah
here.
and I have really been on the same page lately about how people need to manage their lives.
You're like kindred spirits. So that's my personal news. I'm stuck with it. That's the way it is. I'm not going to get any sympathy for it, obviously. So I'll just get over it.
Well, I have a chastised at work story. When I used to work retail, this was my first job that I worked. And I worked there from the time I was 16 till I was maybe 20. But at some point in there, I went to college. So I was coming back to this retail job on the weekends because it was an hour south of where I was going to college. And one day, my boss, who was different from the boss I had when I got hired, and I did not like her. So I guess we'll preface it with that. But my boss came up to me and was like, hey, you're not doing enough. I need you to go do this, this, and this. And I was like, you know what, Robin? Okay, I work 3 jobs and I come down here on the weekend to help you jokers. If you don't need me, then I quit. And she's like, okay, well then give me your 2 weeks
Two-week
and
notice?
I'll see you.
2-week notice?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I will. And then I did that.
What? You wrote her 2 weeks notice? And then you continued to work there for another 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I worked on the weekend, so it was like
That's
another
not
shift.
quitting.
It's quitting the
That's-
right way.
That's how you're supposed to quit. But also, the stupid thing was like she didn't tell anybody I was quitting. So the other managers on my last day, I was like, all right, y'all, here's my badge and my time card, and I'll see
And
you
my
never.
gun.
And yeah, and my gun, which fortunately I decided not to use, probably because Robin wasn't on shift today. And Susie, the other manager, was like, you're quitting? And I was like, it's not my fault that there's no communication in this place, but it did contribute to my loss. So, peace.
Well, all right. That one actually got better because no one else knew that you put in the 2 weeks. So to them, it was like you were just quitting.
Yeah, except I
So-
liked them.
Oh, well.
So you screwed the
Sort of.
people you liked, and you did the right thing for the person you hated. Is that a fair
Yeah.
assessment?
It is. So here's the moral of that story is that you should just always pull a Nick and never give your 2 weeks notice.
Yeah, I
It's
never
more
do
satisfying.
that. Never do that.
I'm out.
Nah, yeah, I'm just gone because every other time I have a job, I'm beginning another job or I'm about to get another job. I don't know. My situation is actually pretty unique because every new job I get, except for one, is with the person who hired me at the last job, at the job I'm currently working at, who moved on to greener pastures and then like hires me where they are. I just keep following this guy everywhere.
Creepy.
It's not creepy. It's
Creepy. He's a good boss.
Yeah. And you must be a good employee.
Well, of course I am.
Yeah, of course.
I'm the best at everything I do.
No, it's so true.
Around.
No one's ever going to put you down. All right. So, Sarah, what's your personal news? You've shared a couple of good stories, but what's your personal news?
My personal news is that I continue to fuck off being an adult and also improving my house. Like, I keep buying all the stuff to do stuff, and then it just kind of sits
You're
in
doing it.
piles in my car and in my garage and
You're
all
getting
that
to
good
it
stuff.
in
I'm
due
spending
time.
money. Like,
One of these
I'm just
days-
not doing anything with it.
One of these
So-
days, you're going to be like, fuck it. I can't handle all the shit in my house anymore. And you're just going to start doing them all. And like in 1
Mhm.
month, like this chicken mansion, this projector, it's all going to be amazing.
McChicken.
Yeah, I will
Mansion.
say that it won't be me who says that this shit's got to go out of my house. That will definitely be Murphy once she surfaces from her master's degree here. So, I mean, my time is probably coming. But until then, I'm just going to continue updating my island on Animal Crossing.
Well, that's where it's really at. Anybody can install a high definition projector into their chicken coop, right? I mean, anybody can do that, but not everyone can upgrade their island on Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and also not
gotta have
everyone
a switch for
wants
it.
to do that. You know what I mean? You got to do what you want to do all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever you want, you know? That's how you live to be 100 years old, I think is the secret to life. You just have to do what you want when you want to do it all the time. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for example, I do. And I agree with that philosophy. So, for example, we had this whole dinner planned out, right? And then on the way home from swimming, we're like, you know what? I want a fucking Chinese. Fuck dinner.
Mhm.
So there you have it.
Yeah. And look at
100
it.
years
It's worked
old.
out.
Here I come.
100
Yeah, it's
years
worked
old.
out marvelously for you. Really has.
Thanks.
You're
How about
welcome.
some Chinese, some not, rotten Chinese. Dude,
Oh, come
how
on
about,
over after
you
this.
heard about, what? Seriously? Oh, you're getting it now?
Well, yeah, after
I
the
thought you were
pod.
talking about in the past tense. I didn't realize you were talking about tonight. I
Yeah,
want
tonight.
Chinese.
You want me to get you some Chinese?
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, we'll discuss that. Okay.
All right.
I'm glad.
You can have some delivered here too. That's cool.
Yeah, if
in
you
the
want.
mail. How she'll do it is
No,
she'll
you
get
can
it
call someone
delivered.
local to us.
No. That's too easy. What she's gonna do is you tell her what she wants. She orders it from the restaurant, okay, and then she puts that in the mail for overnight shipping.
FedEx or USPS?
Whatever you
DHL.
want. As long as it's got enough MSG, it'll be fine.
No, DHL for MSG. I think that's
DHL
Got it.
with MSG, the flavor enhancer, and there you go. It'll be hot. Well, it won't be hot, but it will be ready on your front porch. And
It'll be something.
Oh,
probably
yeah.
not when it's supposed to be, because we know how Sarah is with mailing things.
That's true.
Hey,
If
I
she
do my
sends it overnight.
best.
If she sends it overnight, I should get it by Wednesday.
Yeah,
So I'll look forward to that. Oh, thank you, kids. I appreciate that.
dude.
Well-
how about Chris D'Elia?
What?
Yeah.
Who's Chris D'Elia?
He's a comedian who,
Chris Delia?
no, it's D'Elia.
Yeah, but it's Delia. It looks like Delia, but it's Delia.
Well, Chris D'Elia will always be Chris Delia to me in my heart. No,
Yeah,
but anyway, what about
That's
him?
that's some old man shit. You read something, you decide that it's pronounced like that, and then it's just pronounced like that forever.
Yeah. Well, guess
I do
what?
that
I'm an
shit.
old
Anyway,
fucking man.
He got in trouble because he's been hitting up chicks on Instagram and Snapchat and shit, trying to fuck them, And a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, a few of them were like, I was 16 at the time. Now, my buddy Raleigh texted me about this, and he had a great analogy for it. I was like, okay, on Instagram, you can't really tell. He's still a sleazeball, but on Instagram, it's not like you can tell if someone's 16. And if you got a millionaire comedian sliding in your DMs, you're not going to rat yourself out. You know what I mean? But that doesn't make it okay. Still got a family and shit.
Oh, I see. He's a married fellow.
I don't know if he's married.
No,
But,
he's not married at all. He's just a creep.
But anyway,
He's funny, but
Rowley compared it. He's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, maybe he didn't know they were 16, but it's also like when fighters get suspended, when they get popped for steroid use, but they get suspended even when it's proven that they just had tainted supplements. Because USADA's like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have been fucking buying supplements from Walmart. You know, you're a professional. You just shouldn't have been doing that. Even if, you know, technically it wasn't what you thought it was. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so I guess what I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand here is he's how old? In his 30s?
40.
Oh, he's 40? And so he's texting teenage girls. And are they exclusively underage or just some of them were?
Some of them were. And he denies all the underage shit, but he's like, well, I was doing the other thing, though. Well, I was, you know, trying to solicit nudes from my fans. But I wasn't doing the underage thing that I was, you know, soliciting nudes from.
Okay. So he was soliciting nudes from his fans.
And trying to fuck and shit. Like, it's sleazy.
All
Yeah.
right.
But
Yeah.
he's like going down, though. Like, he's getting canceled.
So this is cancel culture.
Like I said, I like Chris D'Elia's podcast. I listen to it every fucking week it comes out because it's hilarious. It's just him, stream of consciousness. But I don't like his stand-up. Like, it doesn't really make me laugh that much.
Well, and apparently his hijinks on Instagram haven't made underage girls or him laugh very much. He's a sad clown.
somebody's laughing. But
Send in
yeah,
the
he is a
clowns.
sad clown right now.
Yeah. So how did he get outed?
I don't know. I think people just came forward.
Yeah, so it was one girl spoke out, and then a few other girls were like, yeah, he fucking did this to me too, and blah, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. So classic case.
Yeah, like whether or not, like, it's still like, dude, what are you doing? You're a millionaire comedian. You know, you tour and shit.
Get a hooker like
Yeah.
like everyone else.
Just get a groupie after one of your fucking theater shows. Just fuck one of them sluts. I don't know why you got to risk it all with a paper trail, dude. Like, was it worth it? Did you get everything you were hoping for? You're a professional, dude. You're 40 years
we could
old.
have had it all.
Well, rest in peace, the career of Chris D'Elia. In the meantime, though, we have other personal news. We've never gotten to Elsie's personal news. I think it's only fair to allow her to speak.
So my personal news is of the rather scary sort. So this neighbor, who I've been trying to protect from the other asshole neighbors because they're racist, invited me over for a ladies' night on Wednesday. Now,
Is this the lawyer?
No, she
Okay.
moved.
Oh,
We did see them for Shabbat.
She
on-
was banished
on
from the
Friday.
fucking neighborhood after her.
She somewhat banished herself happily.
got
But no, the
fuck
new
out of
neighbor
Dodge.
is the black single mom who's been dealing with all these racist people. So I'm like, well, I can't not show up, but the last thing I want to do is go to my neighbors' houses ever. So I'm like, fine, whatever. I knew she was supposed to be getting married on Saturday the 20th. So I thought, well, maybe this is like a surprise bridal shower or something, or she just doesn't want to tell me that's what it is because she doesn't want me to feel obligated, but I'll be a dick if I don't go. So let me go. So I walk over there and no one's wearing a mask. And I had a mask on, but the other four ladies did not. So I was like, well, all right, we're in somebody's house. There's only four of us. It's fine. I don't want to be the freak. So then they're chit-chatting and we're getting this house tour. And I quickly hear things like, well, that was before I was in the Lord. And so everything became about being before the Lord. And then somebody's trip to Vegas came up. And then there had to be a whole discussion about, well, you know, a lot of Christians don't believe you should go to Vegas because Vegas is so bad. But, you know, if you just stay and doing the right things, you'll be okay. And so it was quickly devolving into realizing that it was a church Bible study ladies' night.
Oh, I would have been like,
Yes.
I've made a terrible mistake. Excuse me, I have to leave.
Right
Put
now,
your hand on your
immediately.
friend's shoulder and say, I've made a terrible mistake, and turn around and
Right.
walk away.
And I would have loved to have, but this Puerto Rican lady had me in a tractor beam of conversation that I could not extract myself from. But more and more people started showing up to the point where finally I could run away
Slip into the mist.
somewhat unseen. Yeah, but by the time this last group arrived, there had to be like 30 people in this space about 2 rooms wide. Not a single one wearing a mask. Everybody hugging each other. Hello. I was like, get me the fuck out of here. It was like my worst
yeah.
nightmare. I was getting COVIDs. I was getting converted. It was fucking awful.
Yeah, and then right
Look, I will-
after you left, that's when they pulled out the masks, but it wasn't no fucking COVID mask. It was the eyes wide shut mask. They pulled out their fucking cloaks and their like twisty daggers. They pulled the fucking some kid out. Ah!
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know
Altar boy.
that, by the way. We
We
don't
know that, but you don't it's like a Schrodinger's cat type deal. You weren't there. You didn't see after you left. That's so there's no way to prove that they didn't do that.
That's true. There isn't. Well, when you talk about religion, it can often get a little hairy. Greetings, fellow wanderers. This existence in which we find ourselves can be so confusing at times. Are you feeling lost, or perhaps you're feeling unsatisfied by the answers or lack thereof from your religion or lack thereof? These could all be signs that it's time to try something new, something never before experienced by this version of yourself. We'd like to formally invite you on a mental tour of the Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse. Ours is a church not based solely on belief, but also across the perfectly aligned porcelain white teeth of science herself. What I wouldn't give to have those teeth for my personal collection. I mean, seriously, you could shine a movie on those teeth. Anyway, the doctrine is simplicity itself. Current cosmological theory states that we are just one in an infinite number of realities, and it's a proven fact that matter cannot be destroyed, only exchanged with energy. Almost identical to the natural and very scientific exchange of money into enlightenment. This science has been canonized into infallible scripture. The broad strokes are, of course, free to any soul that is accompanied by a mind open enough to hear them. But true penetration of the deepest umbral reaches of understanding requires great commitment, spiritually, physically, and most importantly, financially. The first and truest understanding that every acolyte knows by heart is that your spiritual evolution is limited only by your willingness to relinquish all of your material possessions, especially money, to us specifically. Why is that so important? Ascend the ranks of the church to find out. Are you worried about not having the appropriate amount of funds to reach ultimate enlightenment? Fear not, my child. The church has many adept accountants who will work with you night and day in order to find the most efficient way to take whatever it is that you have. And anyone who achieves ultimate enlightenment is guaranteed by the church to simultaneously achieve omnipotent immortality. So don't let another moment in any other universe pass you by. Call our hotline and sign up for our mentorship program now, and we'll throw in a combination keychain and prayer sponge. Trust us, where you're going, you'll need it.
The Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse. Give us all your fucking money.
Well, anyway, we're excited to welcome the Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse as a sponsor. Well, of course, they're not just sponsors. We also founded it, but still, we're excited to
We
have
let them into our hearts and into our pocketbooks, and you should do the same.
We let ourselves into our own pocketbooks. That was the first Ouroboros transformation. You know
and
what I
I'm
mean?
thinking if these ladies were so excited about getting converted to Jesus the first time, they're going to really love being converted the second time. Am I right?
They're gonna love.
Well, who doesn't love finding Jesus in all the other dimensions?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You
But
know,
it's not
especially when he's a
easy.
cute little puppy dog.
It's like Where's Waldo? Only where's Jesus?
Where's Jesus in each conceivable dimension?
Interdimensional.
And
Yeah.
Should we
the
go
only way-
kidnap all the Jesuses?
No,
we shouldn't do that, but we could have some Church of Universal Energy.
Yes.
Some men in the
Acolytes.
Church of Universal Energy ski mask break into all the Jesuses in all their separate realities' homes.
Yeah, they can't all work in the lithium mines.
We should make Church of Universal Energy ski masks, you know? Merch.
Or Church of
Be
Universal.
like bright blue.
Yeah, Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse COVID masks.
That too.
Yeah.
We'll get over it.
All the masks.
All of it.
Gas mask.
Every kind of masks.
Eyes wide shut masks.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, naturally.
Cloaks.
Daggers, the whole thing. But of course,
Twisty daggers.
as the spot so rightly notes, it's all just a matter of your financial commitment in any event.
We didn't make that up, you know? That's a tried and true method.
Of finding spirituality.
Yeah.
And you poor folk are
Yes.
going to want to work it off, with your labors, and you rich folks are just going to give us your money.
Everyone's going to sweat out them demons, best believe, one way or the other. We got several different activities.
The sweat
lined up.
lodge may be a little close to the porta potties, but that's not the point.
No,
Sweat lodge, the cryo tanks, the boiling and then super cold hot water.
That's
But
extra,
how
of course.
else are you going to slough off all your skin?
You gotta get them demons out, you know?
It is true. And of course, the question is, how are you going to pay for all that?
Yeah, well, that's
Oh, that's not my problem.
no.
Pain and
that's-
suffering.
Well, fortunately, there's a brand new way to do it.
Hello there, listeners. It's your friends from a Shinsho financial sector, here to tell you about our latest innovation. Our top men and women have time and time again made us aware of the newest rising star of the internet, second only to alien pornography, cryptocurrency. The rest of the world isn't limiting itself to paper money, and neither should you. That's why we're proud to announce our very own brand loyalty cryptocurrency, a Shinsho Coins. Getting your sweaty palms on our ass coins is as easy as doing the very necessary research of which genres of pornography are trending at any given minute. Simply trade all of your standard banknotes for our coveted ass bucks. And then take those to a Shinsho center nearest you. Our clerks will take the ass bucks off your grubby paws and scan them into a state-of-the-art ass coinalyzer, which will determine the exchange rate of buck to coin in accordance with your church membership status. Then all you have to do is log on to your account at www.asscoinboulevard.biz. And within a very short waiting period of 3 to 47 business days, your ass coin balance will be displayed in your virtual wallet. What you then do with our coveted cryptocurrency is limited only by your imagination. I wonder what lies in store for an entrepreneur such as yourself. Cars, yachts, mansions, a life of unparalleled opulence awaits. So take life into your own greasy mitts and hoard those ass coins. Ass coins. Fuck yeah.
You know, if you're not very computer savvy, like I said, the church has some absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, scenic lithium mines that you can just work off a lot of that debt in. You know what I mean? Not a lot. I mean, it's,
I think. Do you think they glow? I've never been down there personally. Do you think they glow kind of radioactively?
I don't know, but on a serious note, I remember that guy, Ed Calderon, the dude who was a former police officer in Mexico. Did you ever hear about that guy?
Yeah,
he was on Rogan, and he just talks about like how serious the cartel problems are in Mexico. But he also talks about how with all these new electric cars that use lithium batteries, Mexico has like a number of large deposits of lithium, like larger than anywhere in the world. And that dude predicted that here in a few years, maybe a decade or less, that Mexico is going to be the new Middle East for that sweet, sweet lithium for those electric cars and other things, you know, just those kind of batteries that use lithium.
Which are, of course, every battery at this point in the world, basically, that demands high power and the ability to recharge relatively quickly. You're going to have to use lithium.
So far that we know of. But yeah, so Mexico might get fixed up here pretty soon. We might come in there and just give them the American democracy.
The good old American democracy. It's the best kind.
I was just asking Nick if he was going to lead the new Mexican Revolution, like part what, 2 or 3?
1,000. I don't know. There's all kind of revolutions going down there. But yeah, I will. You know, I'm gonna need to do like a sleeper situation, obviously, where I go down there, like work my way up, act like I'm homeless, sell oranges and shit, and then like build a community, make everyone trust me.
Are you playing The Sims?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like you've got a bright future in Mexico, son.
Yeah. Well, it's a long one.
Right.
You know, it's going to be a long, grueling thing that I'm doing.
Is this what you want to do when you grow up? Is this your application?
Lead a revolution
your
in
job
Mexico?
application? Yeah.
Yeah. I always wanted that. I always said that even before I knew what it meant. I said I wanted to lead a revolution in Mexico. People say, why Mexico? What, a revolution against who? And I'd be like, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know where or what Mexico is or what the word revolution means, but I just want to lead a revolution. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and now look at you. You're on the
Mexico.
cusp. You're on the verge.
Yeah, I'm cooking something up. So you guys said, did you watch all of the Midnight Gospel?
Yeah, we did. In fact, we watched the last episode twice. It was so heartwarming, if you will.
I haven't watched the very last episode, but I had just watched the episode before that when he's talking to Death. And that whole thing that she was talking about was super cool. How embalming bodies came about from a business in the Civil War.
I don't
what's the
remember
Midnight
that
Gospel?
episode.
Okay, yeah. So the Midnight Gospel is a show on Netflix that you absolutely have to watch. It's required watching. It's very good.
I thought that was
Very
Love,
true.
Death, and Robots.
That's also that.
It's love, sex, and robots.
No, Dad.
No, it's
No?
Love, Death, and
No.
Robots.
Oh.
Sex
wow.
is the love part.
This dementia's really kicking it. Can you guys come visit before it really takes over? I want him to still remember you, okay?
It's sex.
Or he forgets
sex,
our faces.
And
Names, voices.
Opinions.
anyway, dude, I'll explain. What I was saying is that embalming in the Civil War, since there was, obviously bodies from people who only lived in this country, what they would do, when people wanted to hold funerals for their sons, is they would put bodies off the battlefields on trains, just piling up these bodies on trains. The trains would fucking roll back into town, and by then they'd be all decomposed. And then finally some train conductors, whoever fucking owned the railroads, was like, yeah, you guys got to stop doing this. Like, you can't put bodies on our trains anymore. So these young entrepreneurial men, I forget their names.
It was Fred and Joseph Embalm, as you may recall.
Embalm. No.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they were just like, they saw a business opportunity. They found a way to preserve bodies, which they used with arsenic and sawdust at the time, because they didn't know that arsenic was so bad for you.
It doesn't hurt the dead people.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt dead people. I mean, it hurts you if you fuck up while you're putting it in the dead person, get it
So
in your
don't
eye or
fuck up.
whatever. Yeah, which I'm sure no one ever did, ever.
Because they were wearing Church of Universal Energy masks.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
but
what I
they
thought.
were the ones who started a lot of rumors, like urban legends, that being around a dead body is dangerous. You know what I mean? That it will get you sick. It's diseased as soon as it's dead, and that you need to embalm it to preserve and purify it. It's actually not true. It's not dangerous to be around a dead body, unless that dead body did die of the plague and is open wounds.
Or if it, comes back to life and starts coming after you. That seems
Yeah,
bad.
that's
Like zombie
dangerous.
style.
I guess, it depends on how fast it is,
Right.
Seriously, if a zombie is as fast as a traditional zombie movie, what the fuck is it gonna do? At a light jog, you just jog away from it, and then you just wait till it gets within baseball bat distance, until it shambles into baseball bat distance. Now, if they're fast, some games and movies have fast zombies. That's a whole different kettle of fish.
I disapprove.
Yeah, that is a whole different deal. But obviously,
Really, I think the main danger is that they travel in groups. Really, all you need is a ladder. Just, get a little bit taller than them.
Get a ladder and just a long stick, pointy stick, and it'll take a while. It's going to take
Go
some
through
elbow
their
grease.
eyeballs. And,
Yeah,
it'll
but you'll get
be
them.
good.
all right.
What do? They shamble around.
Yeah, I've never been particularly worried about the zombie apocalypse.
Me either.
Well, you should be.
Yeah, I still think we're okay on the zombie apocalypse. But I will say this, which is that it is Father's Day, so it seemed appropriate to me that we would share our favorite father stories. And I'll start. Okay? I'll start.
Okay.
So my dad was not the particularly close type, but one day when I was in 4th grade, he showed up at my school unexpectedly. And I'll tell you, no one was more shocked than me. He showed up and he pulled me out of class and he put me in the station wagon. It was just me and him. And we went to an apple orchard and we picked a few bushels of apples and I got to eat as many as I wanted. And then we took them all home and I didn't have to go to school that day. It was the most positive experience that I ever had with my dad.
Did he ever say anything that whole time, or was he just completely silent the entire
He
time?
was pretty much completely silent. Yes.
Like when he came and got you out of class, he just pointed at you and just gestured for you to...
Yes.
The woman was
That's,
like, are you his father? And then he just looked at her, and then she just fell silent, and you just went with him.
yes. That's exactly
I think you
what
were
happened.
abducted, dude.
Are you sure that was your dad?
Well, I'm 80%. Anyway, so I think I did dare to ask him, where are we going? He goes, we're going to go pick apples. And that was it. That's what we did. And then I just breathed in the smoke the whole way over. And, then I breathed in the smoke the whole way back. And that's how it went down. Yeah, but you're right. There wasn't a lot of conversation. There wasn't a lot of discussion about why we were going to pick apples, where we were going to do it, under what circumstances, how long it would take, whether I'd go back to school. I didn't ask those questions. Seemed dangerous.
Yeah.
You're
Didn't want to
smart
spoil
enough
it.
to know.
Yeah.
I'm not in school. I don't want to fuck this up.
I'm not
Yeah,
going to look this gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know, I heard that phrase for such a long time, and I was like, well, who the fuck made that phrase? Like, why? It's so dumb, but then I use it all the time. Because
The gift horse in the mouth?
I was angry because I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
That's why.
I understand. So the phrase looking a gift horse in the mouth or don't look a gift horse in the mouth is in fact its own gift horse in the mouth that you were looking into.
No. No. Nope.
Just blew your mind.
Because it wasn't a gift. It wasn't like a cool thing, and I didn't want to spoil the secret. And it's still stupid. Like, where does it come from, to be honest? What does that even fucking mean? Did a horse bring a man something in its mouth?
No,
and then he
no,
looked
no.
at it and it kicked his head in?
No. So here's the origin, right? So what happens is a horse, you can tell its age by looking at its teeth. You would look a horse in the mouth to determine its age. And that's why you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, because
it's old.
It's rude.
It's gonna be some old ass horse that you're gonna be stuck with. Enjoy your glue.
now you know. Does that moderate or mediate the rage that you feel about this particular staying
It
now?
completely vanquishes it.
And this,
Extinguished the rage.
this in a future podcast will be your favorite story about me.
What is my favorite story about you? I don't know. I remember one time. This isn't my favorite, but it's the first one that comes to my head. I had this tricycle. It was a big wheel. It wasn't a tricycle. It was a big wheel.
Yeah.
A plastic big wheel, which had to weigh no more than 10 pounds, if that. And I was riding it around somewhere, and then Dad came up and was like, hey, it's time to go. So we're going to go to the park or whatever. I don't remember where we were going, but like, we could bring the big wheel. And then you just grabbed it with one hand and put it in the back of the truck. And I was like, oh, dude, it's so fucking strong. That thing would crush me underneath its weight. Picked it up with one hand. Holy shit. Or also that time I was drowning and you came and saved me. The last thing I remember seeing was you like frantically wading into the water.
That was a good
It's funny.
one.
I have different memories of those, different perceptions of those memories.
I see.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Well, what are
Yeah.
your perceptions of those memories?
No, it's pretty much the same. I just remember looking at Nick bobbing in the water. I'm like, I don't think he's supposed to do that. And as I was thinking that, Dad's like, oh, shit, and goes and gets him, which was pretty funny.
I have a memory of Dad being on the phone. Like he was on the phone talking to somebody, but I don't think I feel like that's something that I've added.
Yeah, you've added that.
Because I was looking like at you and I was like, if he doesn't look over here soon, I'm going to go underwater and not come back up.
And then what?
And then he looked over and ran.
No, so here's my side of that story, because I was keeping a close eye on you. This was in Colorado, by the way, in a suburb of Denver, because Chris was there and Uncle Patrick was there and Guy was there too, as a matter of fact. And I was watching you, Nicholas Shin, as you bobbed out into the water. And I'm like, if he does not voluntarily come back in, this could end badly. So I had my eyes on you like a hawk the whole way. That's a true story.
And then, so you just watched as I swam
let
to
the
my
kids-
doom.
Yeah.
I kept
might
thinking
not
you were
have.
going to come back, you little moron, but no.
Yeah, see, that was my plan. I was like, all right, time to come back. But then I realized that the floor isn't there anymore. And I can't swim because I'm too young.
Right, because I'm
And-
4.
Yeah, now I'm kind of fucked, you know?
I got you.
I'm there with my dick in my hands wondering, oh, fuck, what do I do now? But then you came to the rescue. And honestly, that was so long ago. I could be convinced that was, if it weren't for us all confirming that it happened, I could be convinced that was a dream.
No, that happened.
Memories I have that were so long ago to me, I was just like, did that even fucking happen?
Yeah, it happened. I was there. All
I
right,
almost
so-
drowned quite a
I
few
don't
times,
really-
actually. But this
Yeah, you
isn't
had
the
some-
drowning story time.
Oh, you have other drowning stories? No.
Yeah, I do. Since you've questioned me, now I got to show you that you were there. We
That
were at
Nick
some-
took a long time to learn how to swim is the moral of this story. But go ahead, tell the second
I can't
drowning
believe I'm
story.
not
You'd think
afraid
you would
of
have gotten
swimming.
invested sooner.
You would think I'd be afraid of swimming, but I'm not. I like swimming. But yeah, we went into a water park.
Yes.
We was all there, as the whole family. And as soon as we got in, everyone was like setting their shit down. We were all planning where we were going to go. And I just took off and just jumped into 12 feet of water. And then some lifeguard saved me.
Yeah, so let me tell you my perspective of that story. By the way, this was also in Colorado at a water
Both times I lost consciousness. Like the last thing I remember is my head just like going under the water and me being like, I made a terrible mistake.
Well, it's not that you jumped into 12 feet of water. There was actually a water slide into 12 feet of water. And I swear to Christ, it could not have taken you more than 30 seconds to get up that thing and into the water drowning, because this is no shit. I had not been there more than 2 minutes before a lifeguard shows up and says, "Hey, is this your child?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, I rescued him." "Rescued? How could you rescue him? We've been here 2 fucking minutes. How in the world did this kid drown in 2 minutes?
I found a way. I do remember as soon as we walked in, I was just like, oh, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Everyone was still like, doing their thing. And I was like, no, I'm gone. I'm in that water now.
Into the sweet embrace of death.
Yeah. Bit off a little bit more than I could chew.
But you lived to tell the tale.
I did. Thanks to
That's
that
heartwarming.
lifeguard, whoever the fuck he is.
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, so in your drowning experiences, I've rescued you 50% of the time, and professional lifeguards have rescued you the other 50%.
Yeah, so you're basically a professional lifeguard.
Yeah, more or less.
I do have a lot of fond memories of you taking us out to Colorado. Actually, this is more of a fond memory of Uncle Teddy, and a little bit of a rag on you, but we were visiting Teddy when he lived in that earth house up in the mountains.
Yes.
And, I always adjusted poorly to the altitude, but you insisted that we go out and get some fresh air because I was a chubby little child, and you were always trying to make me more healthy. So we had this bike. It was another bike story is when I was going to interject this, but I was riding my bike and you were walking alongside me because I was not very fast because the air was thin and I was fat, and I'm huffing and puffing up this hill, right? We're like, I can see Uncle Teddy's house, but we've been out for like an hour, which felt like days. And I'm like, "Daddy, I don't feel so good." And you're like, "You're fine. Come on." I'm like, "I really don't feel good." And then I fell off my bike and puked everywhere and you had to carry me home.
Yeah, that's a true story. And then
I remember that house being made entirely out of glass. That's my memory of it.
It was really cool.
It was actually made out of recycled tires and hay bales and shit like that covered with adobe. It was really an incredible piece of architecture. And Sarah, I always felt bad for years afterwards about that particular experience because I realized that I maybe should not have had you go for an hour-long bike ride hike with me at 13,000 feet, when you're 9 years old. So that on me.
And fat and out of shape.
Well, but you were 9. You weren't fat and out of shape. You were just you.
So Dad carried me into the house and Uncle Teddy fussed over me for the rest of the evening, fed me some truly foul tea, and then we watched Cats.
Not the shitty movie that just came out, but obviously some other version of Cats.
Well, I mean, they're all kind of shitty, but Uncle Teddy loved musicals, so there we have it.
He did. Actually, that house, which was in fact purchased and built by him and his then boyfriend, man alive, that guy was one of the founders of a computer storage company. And he was a millionaire. But, Teddy couldn't be tied down to any one person.
He was a millionaire at the time they were together.
That was Uncle Rob.
Yeah, that was Uncle Rob. That's exactly who that was. He was a millionaire founder.
That was the last time we saw Uncle Rob.
Yeah, sadly. It's a shame. Anyway, so rest in peace, Uncle Rob. Not that he died, as far as I know, although Uncle Teddy did. Rest in peace, Uncle Teddy.
Yeah, I just have a memory of that that house being made of glass. I know that can't be, but I do remember that house, and my memory was that it was just in a desert and it was made of glass. It's like a dreamlike memory of that place.
Well, the front walk up to the house was like there were bottles in the ground. So like the walkway was all glass bottles, and like Dad said, there was a lot of recycled materials. I remember it being earthen, and like the bathroom was all natural. It was really cool.
It was a cool house. Actually, you know who put those bottles in the ground? Uncle Patrick and Uncle Guy. They did that work. True story. That house is not far from Westcliff, Colorado, as a matter of fact. I'd love to see it. I wonder who owns it today. Maybe Uncle Rob still does, although he would probably not identify you as niece Sarah or nephew Nick.
Well, no, but,
Well,
I don't know his last name.
He's got to leave his money to somebody. Let's start sucking up now.
Mr. Rob?
Yeah.
Is Mr. Rob better?
Yeah, it is. That's a little more appropriate. So thanks for sharing a tale of parental neglect on my part. I think that's fair given everything that's happened. So, I mean, the other great story is the time that you fell off your bicycle and I wanted to throw you in a tub of water instead of
that's
taking
true.
you to the
I
hospital.
do remember that. We were listening to, I'm pretty sure, Superman by REM. I Am
Mhm.
Superman. Just coming back into the cul-de-sac, and Sarah was just on her hands and knees, clearly concussed, on the side of the road. I didn't realize that, and her bike was like, just off in the distance. I was like, oh, what's she doing down there? Why are you on your hands and knees in the gutter?
Came down that hill a little too fast.
Yeah. I slid on there was like loose gravel at the bottom of the hills. What happened?
Yeah, and that's why you were all scraped up, and that's why I thought, well, throwing you in the bathtub will get all the
Rinse it out. Yeah.
all the loose gravel out of your wounds.
Yeah, CTE wasn't such a known thing at the time. So
No.
Right.
And you actually, if I recall, you were wearing a helmet.
She was wearing a helmet. I do recall that because you might not be here today, were you not?
Because Dad bought us sick-ass helmets and knee pads and elbow pads, and I remember I would wear them just not even on the bike. I would wear them everywhere but on my bike.
Yeah,
Sounds about right.
yeah, they were awfully binding for bicycle riding.
As you ninja turtled through the kitchen.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe the knee and arm pads are what caused Sarah to have this accident?
No, because she wasn't wearing them at the time, actually.
No.
Just the helmet.
And I do remember my helmet was loose. I hated it because who likes wearing helmets? But it must have
Apparently
stayed
Nick.
buckled if it was still on my head through the end of the accident.
It was indeed. Well,
Well, there
so
you have it.
I'm a good father.
You
'cause I
might make me vomit, but you did save my life.
Thank you. I bought you a fucking helmet. Amen. All right. So, yeah, and I've only been in one car accident with you that I recall.
None with me.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So, I'm doing great. I'm father of the fucking
Yeah.
year here.
Good job, Dad.
All right. You're welcome. That concludes the Father Days portion of the program, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. Elsie looked like she was going to say something, but she thought better of it. She got a depressed look on her face and just decided not to.
Do you have any stories you'd like to share, Elsie?
No, clearly I'm not invited to talk about my father, which is fine.
That's not
Well,
true.
he's
Go
not here,
ahead.
is he?
No.
No, he's not. That's why I was like, you know what? I can just bow out because you guys all shared these stories together, which makes it much more entertaining.
Although I guess Dad did share his dad's story.
Yeah, okay. You're in.
Okay, then. So we used to take a lot of road trips because we were poor as shit and we couldn't afford to go anywhere any other sort of way, right? So we're going to Moab, Utah. And so anytime we took these big road trips, I would be the only one that would stay awake with my dad because for some reason I felt like it was my personal responsibility to make sure he stayed awake. I was like, all these other fuckers are sleeping on the job. Like, I want to make sure we live. So my dad got to where he and I would wait until everybody else was really, really sound asleep. And then he'd look over at me and like at the right time, I would know that he was about to slam on the brakes and scream at the top of his lungs and honk the horn and scare the shit out of everybody else in the car. And it was always my favorite part of taking a road trip.
Wow, that's heartwarming right there.
You know, I will say, Dad, here's a non-bullshit answer to some of my favorite memories. So we spent a lot of time in the car with you growing up, not least because on the weekends you'd come get us. But we also did a lot of road trips. And a lot of times in those trips, and I remember this especially when I was like 8, 10, 12, you would ask me super deep questions and then like actually listen to my answers. And I always remember being super thrilled that A, somebody was listening to me, and B, that you had taken such an interest in what I was, what I was thinking. So
yeah, I never did that.
That
with
was
Nick.
always sweet.
I'm just kidding, Nick. Of course.
Look,
What?
he could have chimed in, but he was in the back seat conked out because otherwise he'd be puking everywhere.
Yeah, I had severe car sickness, so
Yeah.
I could not. I hated. I'm glad I got over that because that was like the worst thing ever. If I was in a car for more
Yeah.
than 20 minutes, I just wanted to throw up.
You asked me about religion. You asked me about space. We talked about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd be like, "Hey, Sarah, so have you heard about this Christianity thing? What's up with that? I don't know anything about that. What? Did you like fill me
And
in?"
I'd be like, I don't know about that, but have you heard about the Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse?
Right, or its extraction program.
The Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse. Its rigorous financial tests aren't for everybody, and we understand that it's easy to get in over your head. A few acolytes have reached out to us in exasperation at having bitten off a little bit more spirituality than they can chew. Are you experiencing financial destitution instead of spiritual enlightenment? Have you carried out your contractually obligated sentence in the church's lithium mines, but still haven't felt the promised transcendence from the crippling toil therein? Are you fed up with the lavish lifestyles of the church elders, clearly financed at your expense? We understand, and we're here to help. After all, no one knows more about the flaws in the church's doctrine than the people who founded it. That's why we are introducing a Shinsho Rehabilitation and Re-Education Camp, a 28 to 715-day church cult extraction and deprogramming center to help you recover from the almost irreparable financial and psychiatric exploitation you've no doubt received at the hands of the Church of Universal Energy and the Infinite Multiverse. The way it works is with a simple and honest two-step program to help you out of the despicable jam in which those elders have entrapped you. The first step is for you, and preferably all of your friends and loved ones, to take all of the remaining assets you've somehow managed to hide from the church and give or legally transfer via quitclaim deed to a Shinsho Rehabilitation and Re-Education Camp. The second step is the easiest and most fun. Simply inform a Shinsho agents how exactly it is you managed to hide anything of value from us. From there on, all you need to do is sit back and relax as a team of highly trained extractors forcibly remove you from your home in the dead of night and take you to a Shinsho Rehabilitation and Re-Education Camp in the scenic Northwest Florida, deep in the pine woods and very far away from the beach, friends, family, really any civilization at all that isn't a Shinsho sanctioned. At the compound, a team of crack deprogrammers will electrically and chemically replace all of your old, harmful Church of Universal Energy doctrines with new, empowering affirmations, such that your brain will be conditioned to not only accept, but to love your new status as a re-educated member of our program. It's our guarantee that you'll be you again, with a spotless, unmarred bank account, faster than you can say, "Please let me go home."
A Shinsho Rehabilitation and Re-Education Camp. Give us the rest of your fucking money.
Yeah, or the church's brain men who will come to your house and rewire your brain for a nominal
I think
fee.
that's what happened to me when I was 8.
So you
Brain
invented the
man.
religion and its extraction at such a young age. Wow. Didn't know you were the high
Well, it's
priestess.
kind of-
It was another
Yeah.
version of herself that delivered the message to her when she was
Right.
alone.
That makes sense.
Hey, so in all seriousness, Sarah, one of the things I was most excited about when you were born and when you were a little kid was you getting old enough for us to be able to have a conversation. I could not wait to hear what you had to say. And actually, the same was true for you, Nick.
Mm.
Well,
It
then he
was
started
until they
talking,
got
Nick,
a
and he was like, "No,
personality.
stop."
Yeah, it was until you're like, oh, God. And like, now that he can talk, it's just fucking, ugh.
He never stopped talking. That was the problem.
Ugh.
It was fine.
Shut up!
No,
Make it stop.
I never once told you to shut up. Well, maybe once.
Probably
Several
every
times.
time.
All right, a few times.
Not the word shut up, but cease talking.
Son.
Or silence.
I remember hearing that a lot. Just son.
Dad would take this wire hanger, untwirl it, and then just hold a torch to it until it was white hot. And then just
And
put
then
it
just
right
look
in
at
my
you.
eyeball.
That's not true.
Put it right in my eyeball all the way up there until it touched my frontal lobe. And he'd be like, you want me to erase some memories? I'd be like, ah! He'd be like, that's what the fuck I thought. And then put his foot on my head to remove the white
Why
hot.
do you think he has such a beautiful glass eye?
Oh, I don't recall any of that, but I'm sure it happened. But you know
Sometimes
what?
I'd come walking around the corner and Dad would just be up on the counter in the kitchen with a sledgehammer, modified to have like a little fucking propulsion system at the back end of the sledgehammer so we could just bring it down with ungodly amounts of speed and strength right on my head. Make my spine come completely out of my ass.
And yet, look at you today.
Look at me now. A few
Well, it
$1,000
helps with your
worth of surgery,
posture.
physical therapy, you know? I'm back on my feet in no time. Tap dancing.
You're full of shit. But I will say this. None of that compares with anything that you're going to hear about in our next sponsor. Coming to A&E this fall, a bone-chilling account of the depraved secret life of America's favorite star, Jeff Goldblum. Tune in to this exclusive expose for all the unthinkable clandestine activities that this so-called actor has been up to for all these years. America thinks they know Jeff Goldblum from his beloved acting roles, from Jurassic Park to that third Thor movie, to that one commercial he was in on Tim and Eric. But beyond the glitz, glamour, and flamboyant custom designer clothes lies a web of dark secrets too grim to ignore. We have very reliable inside sources that have informed us of many of his abhorrent acts. His embrace of obscure and budding cryptocurrencies, ethically questionable medical experiments on those society might deem freakish, and the illegal booking of underground clown gladiator fights are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his unquenchable thirst for evil. So put the kids to bed, lock your doors, and turn out the lights. Because it's Jeff Goldblum as you've never seen him before. Premiering on Halloween, A&E presents Inside the Monster, the Jeff Goldblum story. Oh, so we'll look forward to that. All right, well, kids, what do you got on tap for this week? Anything exciting?
I got to go back to work at Urban Air.
Yeah, well, hopefully the National Association of Retail Trampoline Business Owners, or NARTBO, has gotten all of the right protocols in place for you to do so safely.
Hopefully the trampoline cabal has laid out a very clear set of rules that we all abide by.
I'm looking forward to that. How about you, Sarah?
Hey, maybe that's where you can get your revolution start. You
Or
know,
else they'll send their goons. They're called bouncy men. They come in. They come in on moon shoes. You remember those moon shoes?
Oh yeah,
And trench coats and old timey fedoras. Just smoking us with the collar all the way up. They bounce in.
how do you get into that program? That's the
take you
one you need
away.
to be trying to get into.
Yeah, I know. That's they hire within the company, so I just have to master my use of. I have to strengthen my ankles for the moon shoes, because we all know the moon shoes would snap your fucking ankles in half like balsa wood.
Well, fortunately, all the surgeries that you had after I smashed your head with a sledgehammer strengthened those ankles. I think you're fine.
Super sledge. Yeah, you're like, we call this one the super sledge, son. I'll be like, what?
Here's why you probably don't want to join that. I bet you have some lingering trauma because when you were like, I don't know,
Are
7
you
or
talking
8,
about when I was on that pogo stick?
that
and
pogo stick and you
yeah.
knocked all your teeth out?
Yeah. I didn't think it was that bad, but my mouth did taste funny. And then I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and it was just scarlet, broken calcium.
Carnage.
Yeah, it was carnage in my mouth. Ah! So much blood, dude.
That didn't happen on my watch, did it?
No, it was at
It was on
Yaya's.
nobody's watch. That's why his teeth got knocked out.
That makes sense.
Even if someone was watched, there's nothing. I mean, I was just having a grand old time on a pogo stick, and my foot, like you do, just pogoing, and my foot just slipped off on the bounce up, and it just right into my mouth.
Yeah.
Knocked all my fucking teeth out. Sucked.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, they were baby teeth. So, Sarah, what about you? Anything on tap for this week? You going to get after those projects, yo?
Fuck, I better. I mean, here's the problem is like all my projects or most of my projects are outdoorsy and the weather has not been cooperating. Like today, okay? It was supposed to rain all goddamn day or else I would be out there digging a hole and it didn't do that and I didn't do that. So, yes, long story short, I will try and be an adult and actually get some goddamn work done. You don't have to nag me. My wife already does that.
All right, that's fair enough. How about you, Elsie? Anything on tap for this week, exciting or interesting?
I have to go back to the office, which sucks giant balls. But the really kind of interesting / conflicting thing this week is that my company is coming up here specifically to fire a coworker of mine. And I feel really, really, really super shitty about it because she's a single mom with 4 kids. And yeah, so I feel,
Is she a shitty worker?
And she doesn't know?
So I know she doesn't know. I'm the only one in the company that knows other than the owner and the HR person.
Yeah, and you just got to talk to her like it's all good.
Yeah. I can be like, hey, how's that project coming along? Like, I don't know. I'm going to have to take it over in 2 fucking days.
Well, on the bright side, she doesn't listen to the podcast, so
Thank
I don't
God.
think word's going to get out this way.
Yeah, that's why I figured it was cool.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I actually have work and a whole bunch of different appointments related to, ending my current employment this week. So I'll be looking forward to doing those sorts of things along with my regular job. But in any event, I'm sure glad to talk to you this week. It's good to talk to you, kids.
It's always good to talk to you. But also, happy Father's Day. Look forward to your card in the mail tomorrow.
I sure will, or Wednesday.
And your Chinese food
And I'll look forward to both
and
of
your
those
Chinese food on Wednesday, yeah.
from
Yeah,
DHL,
absolutely.
which means they're just going to fucking throw it on your front porch as hard as they fucking can. So when you see chow mein splattered all over the stoop, you know what's up. He'll just be standing there with his boots and your fucking Chinese food and be like, yeah, I need a signature for this.
Yeah. Well, and then you know what I'll say to him at that time? Happy Father's Day. All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you, bye.
A Shin Show is a production of Shinfluence. It features the voices and opinions of the Shin family, which are entirely and exclusively their own. Join us each week on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.